Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday morning, April the 29th, the warmest day of the season so far, coming to D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. It looks like D.C. may actually flirt with the 90-degree mark later this afternoon. Philadelphia, mid to upper 80s, similar in the New York City metro region. Now, there will be a backdoor cool front sliding from northeast to southwest later tonight into the morning hours on Tuesday. And the passage of that backdoor cold front will certainly shave off several degrees across New York City by tomorrow. Probably highs closer to 70 degrees on Tuesday afternoon in New York City compared to about 85 degrees or so this afternoon. On the other side of the front, the DC metro region probably climbs well up in the 80s again on Tuesday, mid to upper 80s. With little, if any, influence at all from the backdoor cool front. Now, that backdoor front should cause some, at least some scattered showers and thunderstorms later today, tonight, into early Tuesday across the northern mid-Atlantic region. Let's say from northeastern PA across New York City and the southeastern part of New York. And then pretty much all of the mid-Atlantic region has a chance for some shower and thunderstorm activity from later tomorrow into tomorrow night and into the day on Wednesday. Let's start off by looking at the latest sea surface temperature pattern across the globe. This week begins the month of May, and officially the Atlantic Basin hurricane season begins on June 1st. I think we'll probably see some potential activity later on in the month of May. This is actually the sea surface temperature change over the last 7 days, and it's kind of indicative of what we expect across the tropical Pacific Ocean in that it's cooling. This is the west coast of South America right here, and this is just in the past 7 days, quite a bit of a cooling right over the equatorial part of the Pacific Ocean here. The equator runs right along this area right here. And again, a lot of cooling. Let's kind of clear the deck here. A lot of cooling right here. This is El Nino fading away and La Nina about to take over. We'll take a look at the actual temperature anomalies in a moment here, but a couple other areas of interest. Warming over the past week right here in the breeding ground region of the Atlantic Ocean. Of course, both of these, the developing La Nina in the Pacific Ocean and the warmer than normal temperatures across the main breeding ground regions of the Atlantic Ocean were key factors in our above normal forecast for the Atlantic Basin tropical season. I do believe there'll be more hurricanes and even major hurricanes compared to normal. I'm not quite on board with some of the other forecasts out there calling for a record year. I think we'll have an occasional bout with Sahara Desert dry air infiltrating the Atlantic Ocean, and that'll act as an inhibitor. Both of these factors, however, the warm waters of the Atlantic Ocean and the cooling waters of the Pacific Ocean, are favorable for Atlantic Basin development and intensification. Well, here are the actual anomalies. The prior map from tropicaltidbits.com were 7-day changes in temperatures, and here is again the west coast of South America and what is now developing as a La Nina here. This blue area will expand over the next few weeks, and I expect by the time we get to early to mid-June, La Nina will start to really look prevalent here across the tropical part of the Pacific Ocean. Meanwhile, west coast of Africa right here, this is another key factor here. Warmer than normal conditions right throughout the Caribbean Sea and in all of those, the main breeding ground region of the Atlantic Ocean. Pretty normal right now across the Gulf of Mexico, kind of a mix of above and below normal. And by the way, let me just also clear the deck here. This is the main area I believe that will have the greatest impact in this tropical season that is on the way. Again, an above normal season and a lot of activity I expect to see of the Caribbean Sea and into the Gulf of Mexico region, and hence the southeastern part of the Gulf states really have to be on alert this upcoming tropical season. Well, let's get back to the continental U.S. and take a look at the conventional run of the GFS from last night, 0Z, the 850 millibar temperature anomalies. We start the week off here with well above normal temperatures at that 850 millibar level. That's about 4,000 or 5,000 feet off the surface. And again, the warmest day of the season so far in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. It became quite warm on Sunday compared to Saturday. And this warm spell really reaches a peak later on today. It's probably not only the warmest day of the season so far, probably the warmest day of the week. It does stay warm for sure across the DC metro region throughout the week with highs in the 80s, but probably the peak in temperatures in all three areas, DC, Philadelphia, and New York City, will come this afternoon with, again, near 90 degrees in DC, the mid to upper 80s across Philly and New York City. Now, I mentioned this backdoor cool front. Again, we're looking here at the 850 millibar level, about 5,000 feet in the atmosphere here. Now, here we are this evening. No sign at all of cooler air associated with that backdoor cool front, even into the overnight hours. So if you just looked at this level, you wouldn't believe there is a backdoor cool front, but the backdoor cool front has some low-level air beneath the 850 millibar surface that will ride in off the still cool, relatively cool ocean waters of the western Atlantic, and again, likely shaving off maybe 10 to 15 degrees from New York City's temperatures from this afternoon to tomorrow afternoon. Its impact weakens as you go to the south and west. Still warm on Tuesday in Philly, not quite as warm as this afternoon, and hardly a ripple down in D.C. Again, near 90 today and mid to upper 80s on Tuesday. But indeed, there is some cooler air beneath this level here at the low levels of the atmosphere that will knock off several degrees in New York City. Now, let's move forward here. And the warmer than normal pattern across much of the eastern half of the nation continues into midweek, and it really continues for several days. We talked about this last week, that this will be kind of a long stretch of warmer than normal conditions across much of the eastern part of the nation. Now, by the upcoming weekend, there will be a colder than normal air mass arriving in the northern plains, and this is colder than normal for the normals of early May. So not cold air, but relative to normal, below normal conditions here. And indeed, by, let's say, the middle part of next week, there's a chance that some colder than normal conditions return to the Great Lakes and the Mid-Atlantic region, the Northeast U.S. This is next Tuesday. We'll go out into next Wednesday, and here we go. A cooler than normal air mass in the Great Lakes, Northeast, Mid-Atlantic region by the middle part of next week. And by the way, a lot of cooler than normal air out across the western part of the nation over the next couple of weeks, while the eastern half generally warms up. The western part of the nation cools down on average over the next week to 10 days or so. Now let's take the surface forecast maps here. This line of still rather strong thunderstorms caused some severe weather over the weekend. There were numerous tornadoes out in the middle part of the nation. We warned about that earlier last week, that this system would in fact be a severe weather threat out in the middle part of the nation. Unfortunately, that came true with numerous, I've heard as many as 100 unconfirmed reports of tornadoes out across the heartland over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Now, this system tends to weaken as it moves east, so much less of a severe weather threat over the next 48 hours associated with this frontal system as it slides to the east. Now, let's push forward here from Monday morning, again, April 29th here, and again, we have this backdoor cool front in it. Here's kind of a sign of a backdoor cool front right here. We start to see some showers forming along a boundary zone. There will be a little bit of a low-level flow of air out of the northeast, pulling in some cooler air off the western Atlantic into places like New York City, Long Island here, and there can be some showers and thunderstorms in the northern Mid-Atlantic as a result of the approaching backdoor cool front. Late today, tonight, into the day on Tuesday. Here it is, late evening forecast map, overnight forecast map here with those scattered showers across the northern mid-Atlantic. Now, we get into the day on Tuesday. And again, maybe highs closer to 70 degrees tomorrow afternoon in New York City compared to 85 or so today. And here's that frontal system sliding to the east midday on Tuesday, and it certainly raises the chances for showers and thunderstorms anywhere in the Mid-Atlantic region later tomorrow night, even into the day on Wednesday. Here we go, Wednesday morning, still some unsettled conditions. The frontal system kind of meandering around the east coast here at midweek, so still the threat of showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday. Probably a drier day overall in the Mid-Atlantic region on Thursday right here. Still a lot of activity across the middle of the nation. This is now during the second half of the work week, and you always have to watch out for the possibility of severe weather. When you still see blue on the map here in the early part of May, that is certainly suggesting there's some cold air here, and you have this influx of warm, humid air from the Gulf of Mexico. So later in the week, we'll have to watch out. This same region that got hit over the weekend, again with the same combination of colder air moving from the north and west and warm, humid air flowing northward from the Gulf of Mexico. So again, today, the warmest day of the year so far in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, but probably the warmest day of the upcoming week as well. A combination of that backdoor cool front on late today, tonight, into tomorrow, and then kind of a weakening cool front from west to east arriving late tomorrow night into the day on Wednesday. Will knock off a few degrees of those normally warm temperatures in the Mid-Atlantic region. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.